Update: I20th found a photo of a woman in my dad's 52-meter wallet. I was visiting my parents this week and my dad was working on his car and asked me to take his wallet and pay for a delivery. I did that, but I also noticed two small pictures. One was of mom and dad cute and another was a woman I have never seen before. Both the pictures were really old. She is not related to us as she is from a different ethnic group. I know it is none of my business and it is probably nothing, but it raises so many questions in my mind. My parents are happily married. I do not believe he cheated or is cheating on her, but my mind is going on overdrive thinking about this. This woman clearly means something to him. On one hand, I think I may be better off not bringing it up, but at the same time I feel awkward talking about to him. My mind keeps jumping to awful conclusion, and I do not want this to affect us. I'm really struggling with this decision. Too long didn't he read. Found a pic of a woman in dad's wallet. Cannot get it out of my mind. It is making things awkward for me. Update: I decided to ask him about it last week when I was over their house. It turned out it was a picture of his fiancée who had passed away after an accident. He had completed his undergrad and masters in another country. They had met in the first month of college and instantly fallen in love. They stayed together while they completed their education, and he had proposed after he got a good job. She passed away just 3 weeks after they had gotten engaged. He decided to move back as he wanted to spend time with family. I would have never guessed this. He has always been a chilled out person, always happy and calm, and I cannot imagine how he could overcome losing someone he planned to build his life with at such a young age. I teared up a little when he was talking about it, which is a bit silly, while he was very calm and collected. I'm a bit guilty for jumping to the worst conclusion quickly, and without Reddit's advice I would not have had the courage to ask him about it. Too long didn't he read. It was the pic of my dad's fiancée who had passed away after an accident. My grandma had a fiancé who passed away in a plane crash 50 years ago. She still mentions him from time to time. Even though she had been married to her husband for 30 years, he passed away a few years ago. I think that having a fiancé die must be an entirely different kind of pain. Someone dying young is painful enough. A breakup from a fiancé is rough. But having someone die who you planned to build a life with, without ever getting the chance to see what it could have been, that must be devastating. On the other hand, you now know a different side of your dad. It is beautiful that you two have the kind of relationship where he can tell you about this. Many people never have that with their parents. Just appreciate that you did the right thing and that you communicated this situation well. Do not feel guilty. You handled this well. Someone dying young is painful enough. A breakup from a fiancé is rough. But having someone die who you planned to build a life with, without ever getting the chance to see what it could have been, that must be devastating. My daughter lost her fiancé a week before the wedding. He has been gone 2 years now, and she wants to fall in love again. Get married. Have kids. The trouble is she cannot find anyone that measures up to the man she lost. So many women feel that way, that if your grandma lost her love and married your grandpa afterward, he must have been a great guy. Sometimes kids have to understand that their parents had and still have parts of their lives that don't belong to their kids. Frankly, those parts of their lives only belong to them. This shows that he respects love and relationships, even though his fiancée is not alive. But he still keeps his fiancée picture in the wallet. But do not take it the wrong way. He also loves your mother, and you know your dad better than all of us, and you can ask him freely about her, but do not force him and keep that secret. Then slowly he will share everything with you as a friend, and do not worry, it will not ruin anything. Yes, I have a friend who lost her fiancé several years back and is now in a committed, long-term relationship. She knows the loss changed her path, and while it was tragic, it is the reason she is with another great person now. The loss of her fiancé set her on a new path, and that made her who she is today. She has explored new things, places, and ideas. You can love people in different ways and for different reasons at the same time. What a nice story. My mother's high school sweetheart was killed in a freak tractor accident, Saskatchewan, Canada. She has always spoke of him here and there, and we always knew about him. It is just odd knowing your parents were young and could have had very different lives had tragic things not occurred. I only found out when I was 10, after he passed from a surprisingly also tragic work accident, that our father had been married before our mother. I found out when I was in college that both my parents were married before twice for my dad. We've never spoken about it. I had suspicions about my mom since I was in middle school, based on things I'd found around the house. This reminds me of my dad's involvement in a war. The only time I asked about it, he confirmed that he killed somebody, but he will never talk about it again. He brought up some gory details, which honestly shook me. He was extremely disturbed by the question, and I do not think I will ever bring up the topic again. I do not want to bring up an old trauma. You know, this raises an interesting personal question I'd never thought of. My first wife died when our marriage was young. I married my second wife about 5 years after that, and we now have a daughter. I've never really thought about how I want to broach that subject with my daughter someday, or if I even want to bring it up to her. My grandmother lost her fiancé suddenly, before marrying my grandfather. Married to grandfather for 50 years. She still missed her first love. I found a picture of some kid on the bus someday. It was a really old picture and I could not find the owner. The idea that it might be the only copy of that picture made the thought of throwing it away so sad for me. So I just kept this pic in my wallet for years. Never considered the issues it could lead to like this. I found a picture of my dad's HS girlfriend, his first real girlfriend, in his wallet when I was 10. She disappeared with her whole family including her identical sister in the middle of the night. No goodbye or warning. Kept it to remind himself to not take your loved ones and friends for granted. Don't feel guilty. There is a saying, when you hear hoofbeats, expect horses not zebras. I live in a country where zebras are only found in zoos. 9 out of 10 times, it will be infidelity because, like horses, infidelity is incredibly widespread, so it is normal to jump to that conclusion. Your dad's experience is the zebra, the 1 out of 10 where it isn't infidelity. Now, is it weird that, if I was your mom's I'd be jealous, a little upset, like, as sad as it is, and your dad has every right to reminisce? Does he really need to keep a photo of her for 30 years? Does your mom not care? To me, I'd always just feel like second place. I understand keeping a photo at home in a drawer or album, but not in your wallet, so it's on you at all times. I lost a fiancé about 8 years ago, and my current partner has told me he doesn't feel jealous. How can you be jealous of someone who is dead, who never got the life that you have now? Like, mom got to live the life that dead fiancé never did. Your perspective tends to change as you get older, and this sort of jealousy feels more and more petty. It depends a lot on how the person who lost a loved one behaves. I dated a woman who lost a boyfriend killed on a deployment and it sucked. I almost use the word constantly here, but it was probably once every few days bring him up. Obviously Jody is a pseudonym. Oh, Jody used to order that while we were at dinner. I have a son. I'm going to name him Jody. Let us go show camping. Jody and I used to do that with his buddies. Any of those comments, made very infrequently, would serve to inform me as to likes, interests, preferences. Good shit. I did appreciate them. Blurting that stuff out relatively constantly means something else. She used to ask questions about combat and military service. That is fine. People are curious. But the questions inevitably got around to what would Jody have done in this situation, felt like he'd done in these circumstances. I do not mind sharing a few stories here and there, but too much of that puts me in a dark place. Plus, we were in different services at different places. I got the sense that she was using me as a living resource to learn about the guy she really loves. I think what finally tore it for me was when she wanted to show me pictures of them right after we had sex. I felt like I was competing with this mythical, idealized guy she was meant to be with. He had never leave his toothbrush out. He had never cancel plans due to an emergency. He had never get injured and turned down sex for a few days. I felt bad for her, really I did. She was emotionally stuck in a terrible place 6 years in the past. I do not judge her for that. There is a little of me who does the same thing. But I felt like some bizarre emotional battery she was trying to recharge from. and I got 80% drained to get a 2% better. By the time I ended things, I felt like I knew the guy well enough to believe he endorses my decision from the afterlife. Brothist. Jodie, I'm sorry I could take care of her. The most bizarre effect that had on me was the lingering retroactive jealousy I carried forward. Normally I do not have that problem, I know my value as a partner, but that relationship twisted me up for a few years after. Now, for me to risk a similar situation again, the woman would have to be a bikini model with a penchant for buying me expensive firearms, who also inherited a nationwide chain of liquor stores from her dearly departed. Anything less just ain't worth the potential pain. I'm curious what your mom thinks about him keeping the photo in his wallet next to the one of your mom and dad together. If she is cool with it, good for her. I have never been in that position and hope I would be too, but I'm not sure. I have got a family member who lost their someone special like this. They have now moved on and married, kids, career, etc. as you do. The new wife knows all about the first one who died. They only met because she did pass away. The now wife is very understanding of everything. I guess at some point we all have a past and our paths cross when they do for a reason. So your dad asked you to pay for something using his wallet, and you stuck your nose where it did not belong and saw a picture that was not your business, but you made it your business. Unreal. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos.